So the internet, the WWW, the World Wide Web, as we know, was born as a tool for democracy. But somewhere along the way, it ended up looking more like a shopping center. Our attention was put up for sale, and some people would argue that we actually sold out, that the goldfish beat man in terms of the ability to focus attention. We don't really know about this, the goldfish. It's difficult to measure. However, we do know that with a smartphone in our hands, we are impulse controlled by notifications. And whenever we are swiping, sharing, or posting, we are in a shopping mode. Because online, we are products, and our attention is for sale. So, in a shopping center, there are certain values, market values. So friends and followers is a currency, and the bigger the crowd, the better. But what about knowledge? What about history? I mean, it can't really be mashed into a tweet. It's difficult and it's far too long. Neither can the complexity of the global situation. However, that is the argument in a shopping center. Because the subjective eye is inevitable in a globalized reality. Why? Well, that's because that's how the companies catch our attention. That is how they make us stay a little bit longer in the shopping center. Okay, so we know about big data. And we know that our news feed is controlled by algorithms. But there is actually something that we have neglected to consider. And that is the cultural education, the democratic formation. We have neglected to consider the ingredients. What are in your children's algorithms? Is it healthy? Is it toxic? Is it for the purpose of marketing? Or is it for the purpose of educating? Values shape attitudes and actions. It reflects culture and defines community. And the digital world that we live in on platforms such as Facebook, Google, Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, etc., etc., there are hidden codes and power structures, commercial structures, that can't be perceived as stigmatizing, driven by stereotypical performances. So if values shape attitude and action, is it really what we want our children to grow up in? A shopping center? What about diversity? What about ethics? What about cultural education? What about democratic formation? A professor from Groningen University says children and also youngsters in cultural education learn to reflect upon their own culture, culture of others, and culture in general. Teaching this to children is very important because it helps them to grow up into and to function in a culture which has not one clear identity ready for them. I think this is important. And I think it's amazing that many European school systems actually think this way about cultural education in our schools. However, we forget that the tools and the technology that we use in educating and raising our children, they actually do the exact opposite. So, if we are going to build a cultural foundation for the development, for our children's development, we need to recode technology. We need to destroy the tech silos, and we need multidisciplinary, we need linguistics, we need history, we need philosophy, we need communication studies, political science. We need subjects within the scope of humanities. And and social sciences. Art teaches us that lives other than our own have value. That's why I consider art to be the missing link of technology for human beings. This quote emphasizes the importance of art in a society, as well as it emphasizes the importance, how important a role art plays in democratic formation. I've been driven by these questions, both as an author and as head of education at ARKEN, a museum of modern art located in Copenhagen in Denmark. This museum features artists, international artists, contemporary artists, and it is located in an area with the highest concentration of ethnic minority groups in Denmark, with about 80 languages. And together with my colleagues, Sofie Son, Nynne Just Christoffersen, and digital artist Dries Dieporter, we hosted the first Coding for Diversity camp. We wanted to explore the value perspectives of technology. And we wanted to investigate critical as well as curiosity. And the aim was not the product. It was the questions, idea, and thoughts that emerge when we used art as a starting point. So we invited a group of young people to participate in this camp, 3 days camp. And then we used art as a starting point, and we used technology to build new constructive communities. And, well, an example is that we began to look for the blind spots, to look for the ingredients, the hidden ingredients in the technology that surrounds us, like the platforms like Google, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, etc., etc. So what we did at Google is that we searched different words, and then one of them was CEO, and this interesting image, Google image result, it felt as if it was just an infinite scroll of white men in suits. A few women, and the very interesting part of this was that, well, one Muslim girl, she said to me, does this believe that Google actually wants to decide what I can dream to be? We don't really think about it, but it can actually be very stigmatizing. I know that the young people I work with, they don't really feel they belong to this community. If we can look at the values, if they define a community, this is certainly not a community that the young people I work with feel they belong to. So we also looked at Facebook, and we wanted to find out about the value concept of social media. And we actually discussed is Facebook actually social? Well, they came up with a new recipe for a social media platform. And for them, the most important ingredients were respecting your friends' opinions, few friends rather than many, trust, solidarity, and comfort. So we haven't invented an algorithm for trust yet, and not one for solidarity, comfort. But I believe that we are entering a new era for the development of our technology, an era where we are beginning to discuss the ingredients. We're beginning to look under the surface, behind the screens, and then I hope that in the future we'll begin to develop algorithms with other purposes than marketing. It has purposes that is educating and actually a social purpose, a social media where you can actually meet with your friends without being for sale. So I hope in the future we'll see more human algorithms, and with that I'll just say, let's code for humanity. Okay.
Katrine, thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.